Hey y'all, Uncle Jimmy here. When you speak for yourself, you're forced to think for yourself. And when you think for yourself, the sports world looks different. In order to enjoy this podcast and this show, you need to have the courage to look at the world from alternative points of view and not be offended when you disagree. Speak for yourself isn't your Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram feed. SFY tells you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So, welcome aboard, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
We start today with Dak Prescott. The Dallas Cowboys are starting to remind me of my all-time favorite movie, The Godfather. Jerry Jones, of course, is Don Corleone, the patriarch of the family, a football mafia boss his peers have identified as past his prime and easy prey. Troy Aikman is Sonny Corleone, Jerry's oldest son, the heir to the throne who made his bones when the Cowboys family was at the height of its powers. Tony Romo, he's Fredo Corleone, Jerry's middle son. Romo was dropped on his head in the first playoff game of his career when he botched a would-be game-winning field goal. Snap. Romo never recovered. And that means Dak Prescott is Michael Corleone, Jerry's baby boy. No one expected Dak to become an integral part of the Cowboys family business. He was Fredo's backup. There were even rumors that Dak wasn't really Jerry's son. Some people saw Dak as more Tom Hagen than Corleone, a homeless kid Romo and Aikman befriended and Jerry adopted. But now, after what Dak has pulled off the first 2 weeks of the season, it's clear Dak is Michael. Dak located the gun his agent Todd France hid in a bathroom stall, calmly walked out and put bullets in the heads of the Giants and the Redskins, and is now tucked safely away, awaiting the Dolphins while his agent negotiates with the authorities. After his performance Sunday against Washington, which included 3 more touchdown passes and 69 rushing yards, Dak Prescott can name his contract price. Forget Carson Wentz's money. Dak can ask for Russell Wilson's. Dak can be the highest paid football player in all of the NFL. This is an amazing turn of events. Dak Prescott is a cold-blooded killer. We, the media, roughed him up the way the dirty cop broke Michael's jaw outside Don Corleone's hospital, and now Dak is like, it's not personal, Troy. It's strictly business. Dak is inside Jerry's Super Bowl host hospital room whispering, I'm here, Pop. I'll take care of you now. I'm with you now. I'm with you. It's time to pay Dak Prescott. I know the Cowboys can hit Dak with the franchise tag next season. That would be a mistake. If Jared Goff can get overpaid, why can't Dak? I'd rather have Dak than Goff. Can't believe I'm saying this, but I'd rather have Dak than Carson Wentz. Like a lot of young quarterbacks, Goff and Wentz got overpaid based on potential. I'd rather overpay Dak based on production. The scrutiny and criticism turned Dak into a killer. I don't view his early season success as an aberration. You can be a consistent Super Bowl contender with Dak Prescott as your quarterback. What I like most about Dak is he's not scared. He doesn't melt under the intense pressure. Stephen Jones, Marshall Faulk, a large percentage of the media questioned Dak's ability to become a franchise quarterback. Dak and his agent put a gun to his critics' heads and told the Cowboys either their signature or brains will be on that record contract. Respect. Let me be the first to kiss the ring. All right, joining the desk now are Fox Sports NFL analysts Tony Gonzalez and LeVar Arrington. Marcellus, I'll start with you. Is Dak in position to be the NFL's highest paid player?
Godfather 4? I mean, as long as that went long, boy, I was like, we got a script now.
It's got to be the most gangster opening.
I loved it. Is he in position? Yes. Is he in range? Yes. When you talk about contract opportunities, you got to show him 2 things, either past production or future potential. And that's what Dak has shown him, in a future potential, on top of some production that really can't be sneezed at. This is a guy who's put himself in the range of greatness. And when you talk about next man up in terms of making a deal that could be the highest paid deal in the NFL, I ask you this. Is Russell Wilson the best quarterback in the NFL? I think most people would say no.
No.
But is he the highest paid in the NFL? Absolutely, yes. So Dak has now got himself in that tier 1 range, even if he's not tier 1. But since he's next man up with that potential, based on the production he has shown to this point, just like Russell Wilson, you don't necessarily have to be the one to be the one. And I think Dak is going to be next.
Yeah, I like him. I think he absolutely should be the highest paid quarterback. I mean, he's in one of the best markets, media markets to play in. They show that they take care of their players, and they were looking to see if Dak could do it. I watched him very closely on Sunday, obviously playing against my former team, and his command and his control of the game, his ability to navigate them up and down the field. It's a hostile environment, and some people will say, well, the Redskins aren't a very good team, but when you understand rivalry games, they don't have to necessarily be a good team, but they can play very well against certain teams, and that's one of those games. And Dak, he did not show any signs of slowing down from the week before. And one very important point to add to that is that these are two divisional opponents that he's dominated. And what do you pay your quarterback to do? To win your division. That's the first thing you want to do is win your division.
Yeah. First of all, too, this doesn't happen in any other position. I think quarterbacks are the only ones that get to leapfrog each other no matter where you're at if you're just in position for your contract that year. Doesn't happen for linebackers, doesn't happen for tight ends. I just had to say that. Because it's not fair. But looking at him, I agree with all you guys. Yes, he needs to be paid. But if you are Jerry, though, I want to pose this question. If you're Jerry Jones, can't you say, you know what, Dak, you're playing well, son, but I need to see more of it. Get me to the Super Bowl, and then I'll pay you, and I will gladly pay you. I'll make you the highest paid player in history. Why not let him keep going?
I would say the answer to that is if he's willing to pay him more. Because if he continues to play at the trajectory he's playing at, that check is going to have to be a little bit bigger than what it would be right now. I think it's more of a bargain price. Well, I think that would be the question. That would be the
How old is
question.
Jerry Jones? 70, 76?
77.
77. He wants to win another championship before I hope he lives another 25 years. But the window's closing.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do what it takes, and I will back the truck up, Dak. Just keep doing what you've been doing. Let's give me a Super Bowl, and I promise you, I'll give you $45 million. He's got the money.
You know he has the money. It's a dangerous game of seesaw you start to play when you want to play it that way.
Yeah.
We all laughed when James Slater came out this summer saying $40 million was the projected cost for Dak Prescott. I don't think we're laughing as much as we were a couple of weeks ago, right? So now, Jerry, if he wants to take that approach, roll the dice, baby. I want to see more, Dak. Where's that price going to end? And the only thing that Jerry really has in his pocket is not the audacity to say that, is that he has the franchise tag. And the franchise tag will drop him down to 32 next year, and then it will go up the next year after that. But do you want to play that game with your franchise quarterback?
I don't think that would happen is what I'm saying. I think they're both in a position, both Jerry too. We can do it now, we can do it later. Even Dak, I'd be like, well, we can do this now. You're gonna have to make me the highest paid, or we can do it later after I win a Super Bowl or after I run the playoff run. Either way, I'm gonna get paid.
Does it serve the purpose to ask who else is going to be willing to pay Dak the type of money that he's asking for? Because maybe that has to be introduced into the conversation, because when you're talking about do you pay Dak and then that $40 million figure comes up, if he tests free agency, if he holds out, whatever it may be, who else is going to be willing to pay that price for his
Based off
services?
of what we've seen so far, a lot of people.
Yeah.
$40 million?
More than one, and that's all you need.
Look.
Well, then there's your answer.
Yeah, because I'm just telling you, based on, look, the thing that happened this weekend to me was like, oh, he's better than Carson Wentz, based off performance and based off health.
Yeah.
And so those two things, and so when I sit there, look, can Philadelphia get out of what they're doing with Carson Wentz? If they could, I think they'd take Dak and pay him. If I'm Pittsburgh and I could get out from underneath Ben Roethlisberger, would I pay Dak to $35, $36 million a year? Yes, I would, based off of what I'm seeing now. This guy has, and again, Tony, my position for Jerry and what Dak and his agent would say is like, I've earned this, man. This is my 4th year. I'm always here, available.
Always.
And look at this trajectory. It's time to pay. Why should I wait? I could get hurt between now and the end of the season or some Super Bowl. I've earned this. We're not talking now about potential. We're talking about what I'm delivering. We look like the best team in the NFC.
And what's scary, this is only 2 weeks in the new system. So everyone can say this is a brand new Dak. That's the scary part. This can be even a better Dak going forward once he gets comfortable in the system. I don't care who you are and what kind of start you have. Week 2 is not going to be like week 15 in terms of comfort, in terms of you knowing the nuances of this offense, how complex it can become and how easy that can make your job once you know everything, the unspoken language of this philosophy. So if this is only 2 weeks of this, if I'm Jerry, I don't want this guy to get any more momentum. I got to pay him.
He's not going anywhere. I mean, come on. He's not going to go to free. They're not going to. I don't think they're going to franchise tag him. He's having an outstanding year. This kid is going to get signed either now or at the end of the season, and he's going to break the bank no matter what. And kudos to him for going out there and playing like he has. They've surrounded him now. He's got the best offensive line. He's got the tools to go out there. But who cares?
But Tony, a greater question is who gives? Because they're not signed right now because someone has to concede. Someone has to give their position. Is Jerry coming up? Is Dak going to say, okay, let me come down? We don't know where those numbers are, but something has to give.
Dak ain't coming down. There's just no reason. And here is my other little point about this Sunday's game. I watched that game from start to finish. It was the first time when the game was over, I went and looked at the stats, and I was like, Zeke had 113? I was like, for real? And that, to me, spoke to, like, Dak has made it so – he actually drove the car, and Zeke was the passenger. And I looked up like, damn, the passenger got 113 on a day when Dak has made the safeties and everybody back off, made life easier for Zeke to get 113, and I didn't even know it.
It was a tough game early on. It was a tough game early on, and it looked like it could have been a game that the Washington Redskins could have been able to jump back in it. And for Dak to take control the way that he did and field general the way that he did, I mean, I was super impressed.
Threw an interception, and it never made me blink for a minute.
Right.
It's like, oh, he's gonna come out here and do his thing. It never made me blink. Are the Cowboys the best team in the NFC?
Are the Rams still in the NFC?
Yes.
Did the Rams beat them last year in the playoffs? Did both teams get better to me this offseason? Yes. To be the champ, you got to beat the champ. To be better than the Rams, you got to beat the Rams. That's just simple logic for me. But looking at this Rams team, obviously you can see the bump in offensive production with the Cowboys and Kellen Moore in this new system. But the Rams are comfortable in their system. And they have some free agent additions, especially defensively, that is making
Cowboys got a better quarterback.
You can say that, and that could get headlines. But you know what? When we talk about resumes, it's not the same. Like Jared Goff's numbers and Dak's are comparable. But then one went to the Super Bowl, and one has only one playoff win. So when you start saying better, you know, how do you like your lemonade, man? I like Jared Goff for what he does with this system. He's a bright guy who puts in the time, who has all the skills that you need.
Not as good as that.
I got one who's better than Dak, and I think it's the best team in the NFC right now, and that's the Green Bay Packers. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers. They've had 2 impressive wins as well.
They had an impressive first half yesterday.
And I'll say winning against an impressive Vikings team, which is a contender in the NFC, but it's also interdivisional and also beating the Bears. So those are the only 2 teams that have 2-0 starts and against divisional opponents, which is super. That's a super start for any team by any stretch of the imagination. So you look at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers seems to be getting more and more comfortable as the games go by.
In the first half.
Yeah, well, again.
He didn't do anything in the second half.
But if you're looking at who he is, he has enough of a track record and he has enough of a resume
don't go there.
to say we don't need to kind of question if Aaron Rodgers is the guy that can get it done in the second half or the long run of the season.
Yeah, in the stock market of the NFL, this team's high, this team's low. Then maybe you could say Dallas is better than Green Bay right now. But I like those 2 teams right there. I would have said the Saints because I do believe the Saints would have won that game if Drew didn't go out. But he's out now, so they're gone. But those 2 teams are really, really good. And Green Bay, you give Aaron Rodgers a back who can go for 100 yards now in Jones, and that defense now.
They got defense.
A real good defense. The track record, I really, really like Green Bay. Come playoff time, if these teams, I hope they play against each other because what a great matchup that would be. Who I would pick, who's ever got the home game will win that one.
I think y'all got it all backwards. I think the second best team in the NFC is Seattle. And I think Russell Wilson, I watched all of that against Pittsburgh, phenomenal. Their defense is getting better and is going to be good. The Clowney pickup, decent. I think Seattle's the second best team, but I clearly think the Dallas Cowboys are the most complete team in football with Dak Prescott is sitting like this, where he's not a liability, not a guy you worry about, Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, to me, the Cowboys are just below the Chiefs and the Patriots.
One, your Sundays are different than mine since I have 3 kids, and I watched all of that. I watched all of that game.
I watched 5 games.
5 games, 5 quarters each, huh? I mean,
you got to see my setup.
It's nice. Invite me one time. One time. The Cowboys have beaten the Redskins and the Giants, who won a combined fewer games than the damn Rams did last year. Like, I'm not trying to diss the Redskins. I am going to diss the Giants. Like, they're not good. Redskins, I don't know. They're going to probably float around 500 at best. Yep. They haven't beaten anyone yet except the strong presence of a divisional foe, which we know is something. But when you look at the Rams, based on what they did last year, and based on the comfort in philosophy, I just think that the Rams are slightly better.
I'm going to tell you a team not to sleep on is the Atlanta Falcons as well.
Oh,
God.
I'm
going to just throw that out there.
It took them to the last play
I'm going to just throw that out there. Don't sleep on
even
the Falcons.
Tony ain't second that one.
You said you was drinking that Costa Dragonis.
I was.
Right? Yeah.
Hey, that Ridley is a bad boy, though.
Oh, he is.
Him and Julio together.
Hey guys, this is Jason Whitlock from Speak For Yourself. Are you ready for what's ahead? You can't always predict the future, but you can game plan for it. Generations of families and businesses have harnessed the power of Pacific to help them reach their unique goals. Whether you need to save enough money to meet your needs, ensure your family is protected, or make sure you don't run out of money, Pacific Life has a variety of financial solutions that can help. Pacific Life counts more than half of the 100 largest U.S. companies as its clients and has been named one of the 2019 world's most ethical companies by the Ethisphere Institute. Protecting what matters most to people for 150 years and counting? That's the power of Pacific. Ask a financial professional about how Pacific Life can help you game plan for the future, or visit pacificlife.com.
Tony Gonzalez and LeVar Arrington are back. Time now for a big story. Let's move to Pittsburgh, where the Steelers fell to the Seahawks yesterday. After Ben Roethlisberger left the game with an injured elbow, the team announced Ben will have surgery and will be out for the year, a crushing blow to Mike Tomlin's hopes for this season, which was supposed to be a bounce-back year after missing the playoffs last year. This smells like the exact same scenario that bestruck, was that right? Andy Reid right before he got out of Philadelphia. They went 4-12. He was fired and needed a fresh life someplace else. That's where I think we're at with Mike Tomlin. This smells like 4-12, and Mike Tomlin, to me, despite LeVar's endorsement, Mike Tomlin's the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons next season.
Oh, man, you going there, huh?
Wow. Well, they're both not going to do good.
Wow. Look, since you're speaking of Andy Reid, this Mike Tomlin is only third in terms of win percentage as an active head coach behind that Andy Reid and Bill Belichick. So should he be on the hot seat? Absolutely not. Not by resume. Never a losing season. Not by resume. But will he be? Because of the conversation, because the back of the class is talking louder than the front of the class that is actually paying attention? Yeah, he will.
Might be good for Mike Tomlin, though, too. He may want a new air address.
I've been cut before. It sounds good after you cut, but not before. Oh, you might land on your feet. Yeah, but why am I in the air in the first place, damn it? This is an unfortunate set of circumstances when you talk about Mike Tomlin, what he's suffering in terms of loss of talent for various reasons, whether it's injury, or whether it's distraction, or whether it's someone wanting to know their personal value and worth. Whatever it is, no more killer bees out there in Pittsburgh, as we were saying. And this is really going to undermine what he's done in terms of being a stabilizing force, despite all of those personalities and issues. Unfortunate, maybe there is a silver lining, but for me, he's not on the hot seat. For the world at large, I'm certain he is.
Some say that, adversity doesn't build character, it exposes it.
Yeah.
I look at this Pittsburgh Steelers team. First of all, Mike Tomlin in general is usually on the hot seat if you pay attention to Pittsburgh Steelers news. And a lot of times people look to say, well, maybe he's not the coach for this team. One thing about the Pittsburgh Steelers, that organization stands behind their hired coaches. There's only been a handful of coaches that have coached there. I don't think that this organization is a knee-jerk reaction organization that will say, okay, an implosion that could possibly take place. I see them possibly being a 6 to 7 win team this year. I don't look at the Pittsburgh Steelers organization saying in a rebuilding year, you lose your starting quarterback. All right, we already know the situation with Bell and with Antonio Brown the year before. I think that this is more of an organization, and these are the organizations that win, by the way, are the ones that invest in the people that they bring in to lead the team and assist them in building that team up personnel-wise. I don't think he's going to lose his job over this. I don't think he ends up in Atlanta. And they'll salvage this season, but you'll look to see this team begin to build. They're putting pieces in place. The kid from Michigan that they brought in.
Devin Bush hadn't been very good early.
Well, but he's a rookie. And he's young.
Highly talented,
though. They're building the team. They're going to have to rebuild the team, and that's usually what happens in growing pains.
Yeah, and I agree with you right there. It's a rebuilding year. Now, especially since Ben is gone, that young quarterback they brought in, I'm not sure if Big Ben, we haven't seen the last of him. That might have been the last throw that you ever see from Big Ben. I would not be surprised if he doesn't come back. I hope he does, because I like watching him play. But that kid who came in, they drafted him. Rudolph. He played pretty well. Threw two touchdown passes. I think this is going to be a season where we can watch and see with Coach Tomlin. If he can turn this around and get to 500 with this group, with that quarterback, then I don't see why you would fire him, especially with the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's Chuck Noll and Coach Cowher.
Yeah.
And who else? Is that it?
Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin. That's it.
Exactly.
So the Rooney family stands behind their guy. I don't see him going anywhere.
Why? I just don't understand. Look, man, this may be good for Mike Tomlin to get a fresh start and go someplace else. There's been a lot of things transpire in Pittsburgh, from Le'Veon to AB to his relationship with Big Ben, that if I have a chance to start over, perhaps Mike Tomlin, would I rather do it with Julio Jones and Matt Ryan and the Falcons, or would I rather go to Carolina perhaps when Ron Rivera is pushed out? There's going to be a lot of upheaval with some pretty solid organizations. Again, the Pittsburgh organization is rock solid, but there's a lot of heat on Tomlin. I'm going to tell you that everybody loves to say his winning percentage is X, Y, and Z.
I do.
And people are going in Pittsburgh are going to be like, hey, man, when Bill Belichick lost Brady, they went 11-5. And Pittsburgh is headed for 4-12, 3-13, something like that. I just think it would be good even for Tomlin. Go someplace else with a new win.
That is an established organization, and that let me tell you something. When there is systematic, a systemic,
Washington's gonna be open.
No way. Don't. Where's my camera?
You got your
Mike, Mike, don't you dare go to Washington.
Remy on the roof.
Don't you dare go to Washington.
Remy on the roof.
I always say this. There are franchises and there are NFL teams. The difference between a franchise, they win Super Bowls. The difference between them and those NFL teams play the teams that win the Super Bowls, right? I'm not going to leave a place. I was just saying this coming into work today. It's amazing that a black head coach was able to get the helm at Pittsburgh for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because it is such a historic and history.
I don't think it was amazing.
I think it was.
Have you heard of something called the Rooney Rule?
Yes. They created that Rooney Rule.
The Rooney.
Yes.
That's who started it.
How they not going to give a black coach?
Damn, they got to be at least one team. If there's one team to give you a black coach a chance, it's a Rooney.
But nonetheless, that's their first black head coach.
It's their third coach in 50 years, but go ahead.
Again, and the reality of that is that when you have a guy that has had the success, it wasn't a given that Mike Tomlin would come in. Look at what LaFleur is going through right now.
What, 2-0?
I mean, not LaFleur. What's my guy? Not LaFleur.
Pass the mic,
What's my man? What's my guy's name in
Pass
Miami?
the mic,
What's my guy's name?
Brian Flores.
Yeah,
There we
Brian
go.
Flores. I got you.
It's not a given.
Okay, I got a few points I got to push back on you. One, you know that you're talking about getting rid of him and it's going to fail forward and land in Atlanta, wherever it may be. Just want to remind you that second marriages fail at a higher rate than first marriages. Wow. You want to know why, brother? Because you think it's going to be better somewhere else. Oh, I fixed it. It was their problem. It's still with you, brother. Just letting you know that part. Two, we will fail everyone watching at home as former players if we didn't take them into the locker room right now and tell them how this is really playing out. I'm going to tell you, I ain't going to let them off the hook. You know damn well everybody in the locker room say, ball don't lie. And you know what ball don't lie mean? That's what y'all get, Pittsburgh. Y'all try to play this high road and build it on sand and take the high road, OAB, and we going to cast him down, and we are a happy group, and we're all good. And, boy, that ball don't lie, boy. There's some poetic justice in the air right now. I'm just going to let you know that when you start losing players to injury, you start failing like they are, 0-2. Tomlin's been here before in his career, but still, in Pittsburgh, they're looking like, damn, where's AB doing? Oh, just landed with the Patriots, better organization, better success, balling day one. It's just interesting that when they were playing this high road, I knew it was gimmick. It felt disingenuous. And it's just interesting. I know when I played and then something happened on your side and we were pitted against each other, I would just sit there and look. It's like, I wonder how that's feeling right now. So no one thinks that there is a direct correlation between injury and them not performing well, an AB situation, but pitted against each other. I think it's very peculiar that things are crumbling where they said that everything was peace, calm, and happiness just a few weeks ago.
Karma, huh? You got the karma.
I mean, I want somebody to point that part out.
Karma card, okay.
To me, you just made an argument for why Mike Tomlin should be like, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
My brand is still strong.
Yeah.
I can go land someplace else. Look how well it's working for Andy Reid. Bill Belichick, you know this is his second job, too.
Reach.
This is his second marriage. So I just don't think the timing is bad for Mike Tomlin to take his ball to another organization. Tony Gonzalez is back. We're joined now by former Pro Bowl receiver T.J. Houshmandzadeh. Let's move to the Saints, who not only lost their revenge game against the Rams, but might have lost Drew Brees as well, with the quarterback exiting the game with a thumb injury in the first quarter. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, Brees will have surgery and is expected to miss 6 weeks, leaving the team in Teddy Bridgewater's hand for the time being. But Bridgewater has been below average since he came into the league, trailing the NFL average in passing yards and passer rating and throwing just 29 touchdowns in 29 starts. Having said that, I'm going to take Teddy off the hook for their performance yesterday. I thought Jared Cook was potentially point shaving. Some of the stuff he was doing out there, dropping balls and penalties and things like that. I thought that hurt them a lot more than Teddy Bridgewater. The team was undisciplined, sloppy, some false start penalties, things like that. Can they survive without Drew Brees? Perhaps. I think Sean Payton can figure out a way to manage this team for 6-7 weeks without Drew Brees. And their division's not that great.
Yeah, I think they can manage, and I think they're going to be okay. One, let's respect Teddy Bridgewater. Those numbers weren't so flattering, but he did lead the Vikings to an 11-5 record. Remember that year? Would have won the game. Blair Walsh went out there. Blair Walsh Project. I don't know what the hell he was doing, missing the field goal. So they would have advanced in the playoffs. So you got to give Teddy Bridgewater some respect. Also, we've all been in this position before where I came into the league as a backup. And one game, I remember Bruce Smith was like, I ain't feeling it today. And it was like 11:30. And I was like, well, we play at 1. You couldn't think about that during the week, Wednesday even, you know? And to go from you're mentally not prepared to play, whatever that is, to try to accelerate that process that fast, second series of a game, boom, you're in there. I don't care what level of preparation you have, that's a tough ask for a team in this complex system. So if you look at their next 5 games, Seahawks, Cowboys, ooh, that's tough. But then you got Bucks and Jags. Okay, start to feel yourself. And then the Bears, that could be a toss-up game right there. I think that they will come back when Drew Brees is available. They'll be a 500 team with a lot of football left to play and still get in the playoffs.
I see them surviving. Teddy Bridgewater, he's the highest paid backup in the league for a reason. He had an opportunity to go start in Miami. He turned it down for this situation. You don't want to see Drew Brees go down, but when he does, it's like, okay, this is why I came back to be the highest paid backup. Number one, the Saints have a really good defense. If you go back to the game yesterday, when Bridgewater got in the game, they get an 18-yard play, penalty, 20-yard play, penalty, 15-yard play, penalty. So it wasn't like he wasn't moving the ball. Penalties killed him. And Jared Cook dropped a couple passes. If Drew Brees misses the amount of games he's supposed to, I can see him going 3-3, and it puts him right there. He comes back after the bye week versus the Falcons. I can see him doing it.
Yep.
Yeah, what I know of Drew Brees, the guy's a tough guy. It says 6 weeks, whatever he's going to be. I think he'll be back in a month. And the second thing that I think they're going to be okay is Sean Payton. You guys hit on that. Sean Payton is an offensive genius. I played in the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, I played against these guys twice a year. This offense is about to change now. It's going to change a little bit. But Teddy Bridgewater, he was brought there for a reason. He's capable. He's a winner. He's done well. I think he's going to do well out there.
Well, the name we're not bringing up that I think got brought up on the broadcast quite a bit from Troy and these guys is Taysom Hill, I think, will be a part of their offensive package at the quarterback position as well. Their little, slot guy, special teams guy, they're high on him. So I do think we're going to see a vastly different offense from Drew Brees, what they're going to do with Teddy Bridgewater, and I think incorporating in the Hill guy at some quarterback as well. They'll figure out a way. Sean Payton just got a nice contract extension. 5 extra years. And it's because the Saints believe, and a lot of people believe, he's the second best coach in the NFL after Belichick. Now he's got a chance to prove it.
I'm not a fan of Taysom Hill getting more reps at that position when you have the highest paid backup who made a choice to be here, who needs some time to get acclimated to being the starter of this offense, which is different than being the backup. I like the fact that Teddy Bridgewater went out there and made some good throws. Like you said, it was undermined by penalties, drops, but it was also undermined by the fact that he wasn't comfortable in that position, being thwarted into it in the beginning of this game. And if you look at the entire team, what I saw was a team that was post-traumatic stressed. And I've been there before. When your quarterback goes down, you're like, uh-oh. Defense is like, we're on full alert. You start playing undisciplined. You start doing more because you're like, we're trying to overcompensate. Offensively, man, the ball comes out different. It spins differently. It hits you at a different place. There were a lot of moving parts.
Don't forget the post-traumatic stress was that touchdown they took from them.
Boom.
That was the other thing that I thought rattled the Saints, got them emotional. When something like that happens after you've been through this just in the NFC Championship game, and then they do it to you again in a big regular season game, I felt like that rattled the entire Saints roster. It certainly rattled Sean Payton. So I'm not going to overreact to what the Rams did on Sunday. No Drew Brees, this touchdown taken away, a team that was knocked off its square mentally early in the game.
If they can take Drew Brees from under center when he's playing and put Taysom Hill in, they're damn sure going to do it with Teddy Bridgewater, the quarterback now.
More?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 5 snaps, I'm averaging around 5 snaps a game. They would say, okay, Drew, go line up as a receiver.
I give you that.
So now I see them doing that 12 to 15 snaps a game because I just think it brings an element that you have to prepare for. Whether they do it or not, you have to prepare for it. And it's just, they should have been prepared. The touchdown that didn't get called, the touchdown whistle, it happened to him in the Super Bowl. It happened to you last week with the play clock in Houston. Saint, y'all got to be prepared to kind of water off a duck's back, let this go, and let's play the next snap. If they let that bother them, that's on them.
I beat up the Saints last year for all that whining they did. When it comes back and they do it to you immediately again, I don't blame them for losing it yesterday.
Yeah, they poked them in the wound. The same wound you just had that's still open. Yeah,
you used to it.
I'm so glad they lost by more than 7 points.
Yeah.
Could you imagine what would have happened in New Orleans? Just that city would have rioted. Somebody else I like, too, Alvin Kamara. He's a good player. Michael Thomas, top 5 guy, top 5 receiver, top 5 running back. They got some talent there. Teddy Bridgewater can weather this storm. He's going to do some quick passes. They're going to do a lot of creative stuff to get through this. They might even win one of these games, these tough games you guys are talking about.
It was high-stakes poker. On the road, playing the Rams. This is NFC Championship 2.0, the redemption game, and your quarterback goes down in the second series. We can't understate that what that is going to feel like collectively. Like, that is a major thing, and then Teddy Bridgewater is now put in that position, go save the day, and they take points off the board.
But defensively,
Lord,
they were in that game. That was the third quarter. It was 3-3. Drew Brees goes out early. They're in that game all the way through the first half in the third quarter. That play was they lost by more than 1 touchdown, but there's no telling how that game would have gone had that touchdown
That's
been
when the
allowed.
numbers fail you, when people say, but you lost by more than 1 touchdown.
No, that's
there are critical moments when things swing. When that pendulum swings, if we get 7 here instead
it's a different game.
It's a completely different
arguing
game.
the same thing.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of the Saints and Rams, Darnell, did anyone win any of Terry Bradshaw's $250,000 this week.
Man, so we had one fan in North Dakota who missed the $250,000 by one question. Damn. But got 5 out of 6 correct and walked away with 25 G's. So huge congrats to that fan. But make sure you download the Fox Sports Super 6 app and play Super 6 NFL Sunday for free for a chance to win $250,000 of Terry Bradshaw's money.
Whitlock and Wiley, TJ Houshmandzadeh, and LeVar Arrington back. Time now for Darnell's question of the day.
Put that up.
I better put this Twitter on.
Hey, they coming to get you. Right. They coming to get Whitlock on Twitter. He lost 50,000.
All right, Darnell.
Jack Dorsey or something? Yes, we're going to move to your guy, Whitlock, Lamar Jackson, who had another monster game yesterday, throwing for 272 yards and 2 touchdowns, and adding 120 yards on the ground in the win over the Cardinals. The Ravens are now 2-0, and so far this season, Lamar has the highest passer rating in the NFL, and it's tied for the league in passing touchdowns as well. Got to ask you guys, are you ready to crown Lamar yet?
Not yet. Close, but not yet. I'm not going to crown him. Tremendous. The game-winning dime he threw at the end of the wow. That's the throw every quarterback wants to make. I didn't think he could throw that, and he threw it, and hats off. Having said that, I was super high on Carson Wentz when he was making his MVP run, and now I look at Carson Wentz, I'm like, ugh. So, and I'm a little bit concerned. 16 rushes, 120 yards. 16 is just too many times for my quarterback to be running the ball.
Look, I've been crowning him. I will continue to crown this guy. Last year when I watched him play, even went to see him play the Chargers, he was a guy who was highly skilled. I would give him a 9.9 of 10 in terms of combined skill level. That means your arm talent, which is the 4.9, and then the 5 I would give him in terms of mobility and his talent in terms of running.
What's Pat Mahomes, a 12?
No, he's about 9'7". 9'7". Now, his arms is a 5, but his running ability is not the same as that. Be real about this. Rod Jaworski went on record one time talking about Colin Kaepernick to be the best quarterback ever in terms of talent and ability.
Did.
And you know what? I backed that up. I supported that same thing. And then things changed. But you got to remember, Greg Roman, who made Kaepernick, is now the offensive coordinator who can make Lamar Jackson. And everyone's like, oh, okay, so he can prop him up, and then everyone could counter that. And then what's going to happen then? That's the beautiful part. You think Greg Roman stopped at layer 1 once he realized how people started to figure out Colin Kaepernick? He's learned from his own mistakes and his self-correction. Lamar Jackson is next, y'all. Y'all just got to respect it.
It's too early. I'm with Jason on this. What the offense he's running thus far this season is completely different than what he did last year. The benefit, he did run the ball a lot, but he's not really getting hit hard. He's running out of bounds. He's not getting hit clean and flush. And I hate to do this, but he did play the worst team in the NFL this year, which is Miami Dolphins, and he played the worst team from last year, the Arizona Cardinals, these first 2 games. And so as the season progresses, this week they play the Chiefs. Can he go punch for punch with Patrick Mahomes?
The same guy he went punch for punch with last year, and they went to overtime, and it took a freak play to beat him? That guy?
Baltimore, number one, they got a great group of coaches collectively. If he's struggling defensively, they're going to be in a game. They're going to be in every game. And so I'm with Jason. I'm not ready to crown him. If we do crown him, okay, he can be the prince, not the king.
He ain't the king.
He's on his way.
He ain't the king.
I mean, this, as the new age, Brady, Brees, Aaron Rodgers, they're on their way out. Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, those guys on their way in.
Jared Goff, Dak.
I would agree. Golf, no.
I'm crowning him.
You gonna crown him?
Yeah, I think so. And
I did this for RG3 too. Go ahead.
Well,
crown him.
And the reason why I'm going to crown him is because of RG3. He's getting that education from RG3. Don't make the same mistakes I made. I came into this league and I had the same type of splash earlier than what you did. So the reality of it is that here are the pitfalls of what your game can present. Here are the things you can do that can make you better. Lamar Jackson seems to be grasping the NFL defensive schemes that are coming against him well. If he can stay ahead of that, which there's so many resources that could go into him being able to stay ahead of the game, he is a guy that you can build your franchise around. And if you're a franchise quarterback playing in the AFC North and you can do what he's able to do year in and year out, as of right now, I look at Lamar as a guy that can lead that team in that division.
Tell you the thing that concerned me about the 16 rushes, though, Because, again, that's just unhealthy for a quarterback over the long stretch. I was like, they ran him 16 times against Arizona. This shouldn't have been that hard. They shouldn't have needed all of that from him to beat Arizona. I didn't like Arizona. I didn't like their little tiny quarterback. I didn't like the way he played in between the 20s, And so I just didn't feel like we needed to see Lamar run it 16 times. That scares and concerns me.
Well, I tell you why. It's by philosophy. They playing basketball out there right now. Oh, you want to lag off? Yeah, in your face. Oh, you want to come up here? Buy you.
Evolution.
And that's what they're doing. They have the perfect quarterback to say, how y'all gonna play us? Oh, y'all trying to stop the run? Right over your head. Oh, y'all want to play back because you know you got a rifle? We're gonna run this ball on you. And that's what happened yesterday. The guy's leading the NFL in passer rating. And this is my 1-year anniversary of working with my man, Jason Whitlock.
Guys. Congrats.
And you know what?
No cake?
Yeah. I mean, we brought a cake. Look at us, man. That cake gone. we killed that cake. Last year, Patrick Mahomes, I remember going to week 1. And Jason was like, I saw it too, but let's just give him time. Sometimes you just know, and sometimes you need to give him time. This is Lamar Jackson, y'all. We giving him time. He already won the Heisman. He actually played better when he didn't win the Heisman. And now we saw him. He's won 8 of 10 starts. We have to let go of what we thought. Jerry Jones talked about this with Dak Prescott. Sometimes you just come in with an evaluation and you write it and submit. People just think that he can't throw the football for some mysterious reason.
Yeah.
But if you let that go and just look at what he's giving you in the NFL so far, it's second to none.
I don't think it's just the way it comes out of his hand and his release is unusual. Again, it's not like this, but Bernie Kosar, the way the ball used to come out of his hand, I was like, I don't like that. But damn it, over time, it was like, damn, it's
Phillip
effective.
Rivers.
That's Phillip Rivers.
I'm not a big Phillip Rivers guy, but I will admit, damn, it's effective.
It's effective.
And so that's where I got to get used to, like, damn, is this, or is it Arizona and Miami and the threat of him running? And again, the threat of him running is just like, man, these linebackers are undefeated. LeVar Arrington ended Troy Aikman's career. These guys, if you keep running around, at quarterback, one of these linebackers is going to be like a lion and going to eat you up.
Yeah, but 16 rushes this week. Last week, only 3. Like I'm saying, they're playing basketball out there, and we talked about it this summer. Design rushes.
16 rushes, though, because the game was close. He needed it.
Yeah,
he had to.
And rushes to space, rushes to fall down, rushes to out of bounds. It's not 16 clean hits you're getting on him.
He just has to stay ahead. I think it's a valid concern. And the reason why I say I'm willing to crown him is because of that superior athleticism and ability to lead that offense cerebrally, not just athletically, right? So when you look at him running, he is making an educated decision, whereas it's not just instinctive, I'm doing it. It's two different things.
Great point.
And that's what makes Russell Wilson so special.
Yeah,
So
great
just stay ahead. Stay ahead.
I was another person that jumped on Ron Jaworski's bandwagon. I was over the top with Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
I was over the top with Carson Wentz. That's the other reason why I'm like, I want to see a little bit more.
Yeah.
Whitlock and Wiley, joined by TJ Houshmandzadeh and Fox Sports officiating guru, Dean Blandino. All right, as expected, and it's an attempt to stop New Orleans Saints from whining about an alleged blown pass interference in the NFC Championship. The NFL has created an officiating crisis. The league went 99 years without subjecting its referees to replay review of pass interference. But after Sean Payton led a revolt, the rule makers decided the only way to make peace with New Orleans was to sign a peace treaty. And so in the year 100 of the league, called and uncalled pass interference is now subject to review. Of course, there's absolutely no consistency to the reviews. How could there be? Pass interference is mostly a judgment call in a contact sport. The replay standard of clear and obvious is another subjective decision. You stack subjective decisions on top of each other, and you have what happened this weekend in the NFL. Chaos. You have a Raiders receiver getting flagged for offensive pass interference just because he's releasing off the line of scrimmage, trying to get into his route. You have an Eagles defender pulling the shoulder of Julio Jones while the ball is in the air, and replay ruling there was no pass interference. What's worse is the new review has made replay czar Al Riveron a household name. This is a classic case of the law of unintended consequences. It's the Streisand effect. You remember it in 2002 when a photographer tried to photograph the entire California coastline and Barbara Streisand sued him for $50 million because you could see her house in one of his pictures. When Streisand sued, only 4 people had seen the picture of her house. After her failed lawsuit went public, hundreds of thousands downloaded the photograph. The Streisand effect is a fun example of the law of unintended consequences. The 1919 Treaty of Versailles, after World War I, isn't fun. The treaty was the platform that elevated Adolf Hitler to power in Germany. 100 years later, in the aftermath of the NFC Championship, the NFL signed the Treaty of New Orleans. It pacified Sean Payton. The consequence is it has elevated NFL referees to the same level of importance as NFL players. We're spending way too much time on Sundays looking at the right corner of our TV screens wondering when the yellow flag graphic will pop up. Everything is like watching a kickoff or punt return. We're being trained to expect a penalty flag. The NFL must explore ways to de-emphasize the refs. They can start by revoking the Treaty of New Orleans immediately. This one-year trial period is already a massive failure. All right, guys, Dean, start us off since you're the expert. Does the NFL need to revoke the PI review rule?
You know, I don't know if they're ready to revoke it. That would take something catastrophic to do it in season. I do feel like early returns are not positive, and it's a one-year change. And I would think, based on if this continues, this would be one of the few times where the league puts in a rule for 1 year and they don't extend it beyond that 1 year period, where they would just scrap it and start over. And if it continues like this, that's what we may see.
It was a 1 year trial period, not a 2-week trial period. So we have to respect the process, which I know is tough for most people in terms of their entertainment product. It has to hit the ground running or else. But I remember being in every team meeting room and coaches always saying, don't leave it in the hands of the officials. And what that means in terms of this conversation means that you got to understand that they're not just players that are on the field that are human beings, but officials. And 98% of all calls are the perfect call. And then there's 1% that is like, I wouldn't have called that, but whatever. And then there's 1% where we're like, that's egregious. That's just insane. So what's happening now is because of the emphasis placed on this new rule change, like you said, 99 years one way, now we switch it. Everyone is getting consumed with that instead of what I get consumed with, which is bad coaching, bad performances. I'm still consumed with how do you have Cam Newton playing on a seal block opposite a wide bunch on a 4th and 1 play, and Christian McCaffrey's running lateral instead of Cam Newton going up the middle. I'm concerned with that. I don't leave a Sunday game talking about the officials as much as that. I'm watching a 4th and 3, and I'm seeing a cover 0, and I'm like, Julio Jones is going to get the ball right there in the flats and score easily. So when you get caught up in the diversion of all the officials making these major errors, I think you're not really seeing the meat and potatoes of every game, which is they're doing a great job all in. It's just a play here or play there that's really the issue.
Had I not watched the Super Bowl with Dean Blandino, the Patriots and the Rams this year, I would have said, this rule needs to be revoked. But he enlightened me watching that game. And a lot of it is, number one, the coaches need to understand what they should review, what's PI, go over it with their players. And the biggest thing you said to me, he probably don't remember this, is when a ref makes a bad call, everybody looks at him and says, oh, my God, this ref sucks. He's terrible. They need to change the rules. But what you just said, when a coach makes a bad call, is a ref going to walk up to the coach and say, hey, that was a bad call on 4th and 1. I don't think you should have done that. They don't do it. And so they are going to make bad calls. And had I not sat with you and watched that Super Bowl, I'd have been like, oh, man, this rule is terrible. The rule still needs to be altered. But it is what it is.
It's shining a light. Pass interference has been subjective since it went into the rule book. And by making it reviewable, it's just shining a light on how subjective these calls really are. The officials aren't any better or worse at pass interference, but now we've got a spotlight on it.
Yep.
And that's why we're talking about it. And to TJ's point, and I've had several coaches tell me, Bill Belichick, Jim Caldwell, they say there are 3 groups of people out there on the football field that affect the game. Players, coaches, and officials. And officials make the least amount of mistakes. but we're focused on those mistakes.
Spotlighted.
Spotlight. That's it.
But as a fan who watches on TV, occasionally buys tickets, when I buy that ticket or when I turn on my TV, I want to see the players first, the coaches second, and I don't want to see the referees. I really don't want to know their names. I don't care about them. They're not a reason for me to watch. And now we have a league. Al Riveron's a household name.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
inappropriate. We've already seen it with Ed Hockley with his guns out there. Some hey, look at me referees that have, the league tolerated for too long. But Marcel, the thing about you also have to ask yourself, how are you watching the game? And for the overwhelming majority of NFL fans, they're focused on their favorite team. And so they're not on red zone. And so they're watching one team the entire game. One game. And these referees' calls, because again, their expectations are the players and the coaches are going to decide the game. Not Al Riveron sitting in some booth in New York. Not even the refs on the field should be deciding these games. It's too much attention on people no one gives a damn about.
Well, it could be too much attention, and that's the problem with the spotlight, but it's not too much impact. Like, we have to look at the numbers. When a referee does the right thing, it goes unnoticed. But that's happening. But that's happening all the time, like 98, if not 99% of the time. So when you want to have outrage over the one call here and the one call there, you're not taking into account the balance that's necessary of all the calls.
But I'm not even really about one call. I'm more really about, like, we're really stopping this game over some incidental contact in a contact sport, and now they're sitting up in a booth deciding whether that's pass interference or not. I say, let that go. So what? He missed the call.
I mean, sometimes it's not even past. I think Denver lost the game on a bad call. They lost that game on a bad call, so it's more than just PI calls.
Just let it go.
Well, and we're micromanaging. Officiating is not an exact science, and there's an art to it, and we're micromanaging that. And perfect example, Seahawks-Steelers yesterday, Wilson gets hit in the head. It's clearly a foul, no call. But we can't review that. Now we're going to look at the contact downfield, and we're going to analyze that for 3 minutes. And because there was a little tug, 38-yard penalty. And so where the focus, I believe, right now, we're focusing on the wrong thing.
Yes.
Well, and you're making my point in terms of when a coach or a player does something wrong, we just go to the next play. We don't put it under let's go underneath the hood and we'll do a do-over. Mistakes are going to happen. The refs are going to make mistakes. Let's let it go and move on to the next play. I don't need every freaking thing reviewed. It's a distraction to me, and the game was fine for 99 years without having to go, they may have missed this judgment call. Let's go under review here. Let's stop the game and focus on these guys while they figure out if they blew a judgment call. I just don't need it.
Well, you said it. When you stack subjective call on subjective call, you're not going to a greater place. You know what I mean? There's nothing objective about that.
That's all we're doing with reviewing pass interference. We're taking one person's judgment and replacing it with another. This isn't objective. This isn't the ball touching the ground. This is, was there enough contact to affect Jason from making that catch? And that's the problem. And one of the biggest culprit right now is technology. Because the technology 20 years ago, we didn't have high definition. We didn't have 4K. You watched the play, it happened. The people at home accepted it. Now, because we're analyzing it and seeing it from every different angle, the expectation is we got to get that right.
The fans see it before, and they automatically, this should be the call. And if that's not the call, they're furious.
Like for me, I think Carson Wentz tried to score a touchdown. His knee went down before he got.
Yes.
That's reviewable. You can make an objective decision that his knee was down. I get that. Marcellus, what I can't believe is this is one of your favorite statements. Perfection is the enemy
of good.
Of good.
Yeah.
And so
I'm not seeking perfection.
Right. But we are, with this rule, trying to review. We're trying to make the game more perfect. and officiating more perfect, and it just can't be done. And
Well,
it's not worth the
I
hassle.
wouldn't apply that adage to this because I think what was occurring is the chunk of yardage, like you said, 38 yards, it was affecting football games massively to the point where they focused in on this rule because the swing is just too great. No other rule can change field position like a pass interference to the point where offensive coordinators started to get cute. Throw a few 50-50 balls up there because you're going to get the call. So I like the NFL protecting the integrity of how you call a game by actually focusing on this rule. It's going to come with some consequences, maybe a couple more minutes, maybe a couple more reviews. But in totality, I still think they're doing a remarkable job.
What people aren't talking about is it also gets and gains a lot of animosity, players to officials, coaches to officials, fans to officials. And so that animosity, they're humans. They got to go home and work another job. They got to live a life. And so that animosity from, oh, man, this dude, you see him in the airport, he made a bad call. I want to cuss him out. You mad over something that the NFL can possibly prevent.
Think this rule comes back next year?
I don't know. If I had to say now, probably not.
Hopefully.
We'll see.
We just argued about this
In the back.
Me, Marcellus, and Reggie Bush about this.
LeVar, man.
LeVar.
What is going on, Drew,
LeVar. You and LeVar. So look, LeVar, man.
So this is what happened.
No. Marcellus. Not Marcellus.
I appreciate that. That's a compliment.
Marcellus,
They take
LeVar.
You gonna call me
Marcellus.
Marcellus?
No, I'm saying
This is what I'm saying. You your boy.
Completely disagree with you. I'm with LeVar. I'm with LeVar.
Man, look, dog. We all look alike. We all look alike.
The nerve of this line.
All right, welcome back. Whitlock, Wiley,
Yes.
LeVar Husmanzada, and T.J. Arrington. All right, let's move to Miami.
Man.
Where the Patriots demolished the Dolphins yesterday, 43-0. They even got some help from their newest weapon, Antonio Brown, who caught his first touchdown from Tom Brady.
Peace.
But they weren't the only AFC powerhouse yesterday. Patrick Mahomes went off in the second quarter, throwing 4 touchdowns and crushing the Raiders' spirit en route to a 28-10 win in Oakland. All right, the question here is we don't have a lot of time. Is best team in the AFC Chiefs or Patriots? It's an easy answer. It's the Chiefs.
It's the Patriots. A little better defense, a little better D. Ooh. So you got to go there.
Much better quarterback in Kansas City.
Much better quarterback, yeah. Oh, wow. And he played them last year and came up just short at home. Oh, and I don't think that they're better than they were last year. And if they are, the Patriots certainly are.
You seeing these receivers for the Chiefs?
They down 10-0 to Oakland. So, I mean, they haven't went full throttle in any game. I get it. It's too easy for them right now. Jacksonville, Oakland. That said, Patriots have gotten much better. 3 points in 2 games, the Patriots? We haven't seen that.
That defense crazy.
One of them's the Dolphins. That don't count.
Well,
That defense.
and one of them is
crazy.
Pittsburgh. That counts. With Roethlisberger.
I mean, if we have to say now, it's the Patriots just because the last time they played, the Patriots beat them.
Thank you.
And it's hard.
Last time they played,
AFC Championship game.
They lost.
yeah, the last time, that was in the past.
Oh,
Let's
but
look through the front
And
window.
I don't know if
not
the
rearview mirror.
Patriots, statistically this year, from a defensive standpoint, if it's that impressive, looking at Pittsburgh don't look to be any good this year. The Dolphins have shown they're not. So defensively, the Patriots' stats can be misleading, but if I had to say now, you got to go with the Patriots.
Machine, man. Told you, machines don't have feelings. What was there? Was there emotional advantage for Pittsburgh because of the Antonio Brown?
Are you making fun of me?
No. I just was giving back some of the stuff you give me sometimes. That's all.
Go ahead.
It's the Patriots, man. It's a machine.
Thank you.
And they started off really fast. That's
Who's got the better quarterback?
That's the scary thing.
Who has in a quarterback league?
I would
who has the
never
better
compare those two because you have a young talent and you have a GOAT. I'm not going
You
to
have
ever
a
take
reigning MVP.
I'm not going to take a reigning MVP over the GOAT. I'm going to take the GOAT. He may be better. He may be better now in his career.
Okay, so you're admitting that Patrick Mahomes is better. I appreciate that.
Okay.
It's a quarterback
but-
league.
but
they got the better quarterback.
Tom Brady is the better quarterback. Even though Mahomes is the better quarterback. If that makes sense to y'all.
I know what you're saying.
Because it makes perfectly good sense if you understand what I'm saying to you.
This defense, we haven't seen a team in the league since 1981 when my Buffalo Bills had a defense in the first 2 games.
And that was a
3
defense.
points or fewer. And Last time the Patriots had an offense like this, guess when it was? 2007. You said he wasn't going to have the Randy Moss effect. 43 backwards. Like, they backpedaling going 43 on the Dolphins just being nice mercy rule for Brian Flores.
Look,
craziness, man.
I hate to do this to Brian Flores, but the Dolphins might be the worst team in NFL history. They're 0-2
It looks
start.
that way.
Their 0-2 start compared to when Cleveland, I think,
Detroit 0-16?
Yeah, 0-6. It's much worse.
Okay. Everybody does
worse.
this every year.
What?
Could a college football team beat them?
Oh, man, don't you?
Alabama and Clemson might be able to, and I'm not joking. They're that
They look bad.
So don't.
Damn, man.
Again, we need more. And look, New England's early season schedule through the first 8 weeks is cake. We're not going to really know the deal about the Patriots until Thanksgiving or
That's the
afterwards.
worst part of it all.
Yeah,
they got to get them early.
Yes.
They start playing.
That's a
and-
myth, man.
No, it's not.
That's
They
a
always
myth.
are
Not with
2-2. They're always 2-2,
Not
struggling
with
out the
them.
gate. Defense was atrocious last year, first 8 games. What had happened
Well,
was...
history states the last time the Patriots have led the league through 2 games, they haven't won a Super Bowl, so they might want to slow down a little bit.
Oh, here you go.
Look,
I'm just going off history.
They
They had a
are going
perfect
off the
year.
history.
Look, I have a bias because I can't stand Antonio Brown, so I'm rooting against the Patriots. Obviously, I'm a Chiefs fan,
That's the
and
news.
so I'm rooting for the Chiefs big time here. But again, look at whose 2-0 start is more impressive. I say Kansas City by far. Patrick Mahomes last year set the world on fire, and everybody's like, well, he'll be good this year, but he's gonna back up.
Doing it again.
He ain't backing up at all.
They have not even released Antonio Bratt yet. They got him out there and did what they needed to do. And let me tell you something. They managed it like we said he was going to do on this very show. When they release the Kraken, it's going to get bad. I'm telling you
Let
right
me just
now.
say that Antonio Brown, he's the Manchurian candidate. He's a Trojan horse sent into New England that's going to tear that thing down. He is who he is.
Saboteur?
Yeah. So it's going to work for a while. The production's going to be nice. He's going to tear it up from the inside.
Now, is this Kansas City love by analysis, these 2 games, or by address in the few years ago when you used to be in Kansas City? Because you rooting so tough, you looking past the machine. Like, you already know New England's going to be there. Whoever else is there, good for you. We are the constant. Look at New England, man. And they're playing better than before.
I can't stand the Patriots for picking up Antonio Brown. I hope the whole thing burns down. Uncle Jimmy's here to help us talk about our approval rating for Dak Prescott.
And you know. You know.
Who's the big dummy of the day? Marcellus. Early
Give me a minute. Let me think about it. Hold on.
What? That Patriot?
You. You.
Get him.
Look here, man. So 1 year and you can't remember an anniversary? We've been doing this show 1 year and you don't remember it.
He did, huh?
Maybe that's why you still single. You can't remember anniversaries.
He did.
All right, let's talk some
played
Dak
it.
Prescott, who had another stellar game, beating the Giants yesterday. Dallas's next matchup is against the lowly Dolphins, which should mean another big game for Dak Prescott.
Dime.
Marcellus, do you think Dak will be an MVP candidate by the end of the year?
Yes, I think he would be a candidate. We've seen lesser guys get into the mix and stay in there, and Dak is balling out of control right now. Wearing a star on the side of his helmet, you know what that means in terms of ratings, in terms of awareness. People are going to be watching and tuning in to Dallas, and he's going to keep up this performance. Money's on the line, so yeah, I think he is.
Yeah, I think he'll be there at the end of the year as well.
Yep.
Uncle Jimmy, you've been a huge Dak critic. You have anything to say about Dak now?
Yeah, I told you so. I told you so. It's a method to Uncle Jimmy's madness.
Here we go.
I told y'all before that Dak Prescott, if I tell you that a duck can dip snuff, what did I tell you to do? Look under his left wing. Okay? Uncle Jimmy always has and always will be a big Daiquiri Fitzgerald Prescott fan. I always knew that the boy had it in him. He just didn't know it. Now, granted, I know that some of y'all thought based off of some of the statements that I made.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part.
Yeah, you used to compare him to Glory.
Yeah, one
Movie
tier.
Glory.
One
Yeah.
tier glory.
Look here, man. I know what y'all thinking. Y'all thinking that Uncle Jimmy was a little hard on him.
Yeah.
You know, I always said he wasn't a good leader on the field.
And I said, based off some really, really good sources, that Sinbad might have been his daddy.
I remember that.
You know, I mean, y'all remember that, okay?
Yeah, I
Okay,
remember
yeah,
that.
we were here.
You know, and see, the only thing that was reverse biology.
Reverse biology.
Yeah. See, me and Dak, we kind of like you and Tony Dorsett.
Tony.
Oh, excuse me, you and Tony Gonzalez. I'm sorry. You know, me and Dak like you and Tony Gonzalez. You know.
Okay.
You know, just like you've been out here all these years taking credit for Tony Gonzalez in his Hall of Fame career.
Yeah.
You even had him believing it. He put your name in his Hall of Fame speech.
Yeah.
But that's what me and Dak doing right now. See, just like you, Dak started off as a little fat barefoot kid in Louisiana begging for a bomb pop. But look at him now. He about to overtake you as being the biggest man in sports. And all of this is thanks to me. So the good Christian in me says, y'all welcome. See, if it wasn't for me.
What scripture is that?
It's in the Bible. It's in the Bible, see. I would never put more on the boy than what he can handle. See, if it wasn't for me putting the heat on him, he would have never risen to the level of greatness and got to his motification.
Oh,
Like
you
Whitlock
the
did.
reason the yeast rises, huh?
Yeah, I've made the yeast rise on more than one occasion.
And this is glory?
I have no idea.
Look, man, I'm trying to tell y'all, yes, this is glory. He's Denzel Washington in glory. You didn't see it. Did you see him when he took the flag? Let's go! You didn't think he was gonna do it, but he took it and went. I like that analogy a hell of a lot better than I like that stupid Godfather analogy.
Now he's hot. You
don't
Let me
make
get
fun of
my
my
approval
analogy.
rating. We're running out of time.
Got him.
I've got Dak at GOAT status in 81.
Goat.
Raised him up 24 job performance, doubled his all-time greatness. He's about to be the highest paid player in the
About
NFL.
to be.
About to be. But not yet.
81.
Welcome.
He's an unpaid goat, huh? Okay. He's making $2 million a year. He a goat? Get out of here, man.